Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our webinar on IPM performance for the month of July. Today, what we will be covering is we'll be covering very interesting topics on. We'll be looking at IPM therapy performance. We look at the growth drivers in the Indian pharmaceutical market. We will also be looking at what is the fierce competitive scenario that is existing in the market and how it is impacting performance investments for different brands. This would be at a superficial level, though. We are looking at the top 40 corporates as well as brands. The key takeaways from the presentation today. In our Opinions That Matter section today, we have a very interesting discussion with Mr. Amit Jain, who is President and Head of Domestic Business, Brinton Pharmaceuticals. So we start with our first section of IPM therapy performance for the month. When we look at the IPM therapy performance, what we realize that though the market, the value growth of the market for the month is around 5.3%, which is again on a positive side. However, the unit growth of the market seems to be a challenge. Cardiac therapy seems to be the only therapy amongst the top therapies which has shown a positive growth. Cardiac therapy as well as the second would be the gynec therapy, where the value growth is positive as well as the unit growth is not negative. Though the growth may be stagnated, the growth is not on the negative side. Whereas for all the other therapy areas, though the value growth seems to be positive, unit growth seems to be a challenge. Growth in the respiratory and the pain segment, if you look for the month of July, the growth has mellowed down significantly in terms of value and the unit growth is significantly negative. If I were to look at the growth for the respiratory segment on MAT basis, the value as well as unit growth is relatively stronger. This is because of the higher uptake of the products in this segment, both the cough and cold segment as well as the asthma segment, which has been on a higher side in the past few months. The same logic applies for the pain and analgesic segment in terms of value growth, because at some point of time, the uptake was relatively on a higher side. Then we look at what is driving the growth of the market. If you look at the contribution of the new introductions, the new introduction growth aspect or the new introduction lever of the growth for the market, the contribution has gradually improved. In the past few months, it was, or the past quarters, it was less than 2%. Whereas if you look at the new introduction contribution in the last 2 quarters, it is around 3%. And in the last two months, it has been more than 3%. However, for the last 4 months, we are seeing the unit growth or the volume driven growth is a challenge for majority of the segments in the market. This is for the overall IPM. But if I were to break it down again at a therapy level, the volume growth for a majority of the key segments is a challenge. If I were to look at the growth drivers for the month of July, cardiac segment is the only segment where all the 3 growth levers seem to be on the positive side. Barring the cardiac segment, among the top therapy areas, volume-driven growth is highly negative. Anti-diabetes segment, because majority of the key molecules or 2 of the key molecules from the oral anti-diabetic segment, they have gone off patent and many new introductions have happened in that market. The new introduction driven growth is very high. To the extent, the contribution is to the extent of 7.6%. If I were to look at the MAT growth drivers for majority of the sections in the market, except the anti-diabetes segment, the entire growth of the market seems to be price driven or price increase driven. So when we talk about new introductions not driving the growth of the market to that extent and price driving the growth of the market to a significant extent, does it really mean that there are not a lot of new introductions happening in the market? Or does it mean that, something somewhere is the market not investing much and just taking price increase? We talked to some of the industry experts and try to find out what is the investment that goes in brand building, whether it is for an existing brand which is there in the market for several years, or or a new launch which has got a significant budget in year 1. There is a fierce competitive scenario in the market which impacts the performance or the brand building exercise. We thought about looking at some thoughts, what is the type of investment that is going on and how the brands are behaving in the market. Some facts are, on an average, there is a strong promotional spend on brands. The value of promotional expenses for brand building annually is close to 30 to 40% of the annual target for new launches in a year. And it is 10 to 12% of the annual target for the existing brands. Out of the 54,000 brands captured in the IPM, so there may be more brands in the market, there may be more companies in the market. We capture close to 1,000 companies or so, but there may be more companies existing in the market. But then the number of brands that we capture, now brands is not the line extensions or the SKUs, it is the brands. We capture around 54,000 brands in the Indian pharma market. Only 30% of these brands have a turnover of around 1 crore. And if I were to talk about the brand being a significantly bigger brand, so when I'm saying significantly bigger, I would say a brand having a turnover of 10 crore and above. Only 7% of the brands have a turnover of 10 crore and above. So basically, of course, now when I'm saying turnover of 10 crore and above, there may be brands which have a turnover of 200 crores also, which fall in this bracket. But on an average, out of these 54,000 brands, only 7 brands have this type of turnover. Then we did a little more analysis in the new introductions. How many new introductions are there in the market on MAT basis? And what is the turnover for these new introductions as well? So out of the 2,777 new launches, so when we talk about new launches, we have taken for the last 24 months, only 15% managed to have a turnover of around 1 crore. And just 1% have a turnover of around 5 crore. So if when we talk, we try to connect these two statements with these two statements regarding the investments that go for new launches in year one and the investment that goes for the existing brands, there is a significant investment that goes for all the brand building exercise. However, not all the brands manage to reach or cross this turnover or this turnover. Of course, this is a very average scenario for for the Indian pharma market. The situation may look different from therapy to therapy, but on an average, the investment versus returns, not all the brands manage to get that returns, especially because the fierce competitive scenario. Then we try to look at how does the situation look for the top 10 therapies. Since top 10 therapies contribute to almost 90% of the market, we focused only on the top 10 therapies. If you look at this, close to 16,000 brands out of these 54,000 have a turnover of 1 crore and above. And close to 3,600 brands or around 3,700 brands have a turnover of 10 crore and above. Now, if I were to just look at these numbers, it becomes a little confusing because the base of each therapy or the base number of brands of each therapy are different. So I've converted this into percentage. So if I convert this into percentage, 3 therapy areas, the cardiac therapy, the anti-diabetic therapy, and the gynec therapy. These are the 3 therapies where relatively higher percentage of brands have a turnover of 1 crore and above. The same scene also is seen for brands with turnover of 10 crore and above, wherein if you see cardiac, anti-diabetic, and gynecologicals, these are the 3 areas where more than 10% of the brands have a turnover of greater than or equal to 10 crore. We try to do a similar analysis in the new introductions section, wherein we look at how many new introductions are happening in the market, and in each of the therapies, how the new introductions are getting returns. Now, in case of anti-diabetic segment, because DAPA and CETA went off patent just recently, the number of new introductions seems to be relatively higher. But then if I were to convert this into percentage, we see that again over here in case of cardiac segment, anti-diabetes segment, and the gynec segment, a relatively higher percentage, more than 20% in case of cardiac and gynecologicals, and more than 30% in case of anti-diabetes. These brands have actually managed to have a turnover of greater than or equal to 1 crore. If I were to look at for new introductions, I have kept a benchmark little lower of, instead of looking at 10 crore or above for the overall brands, for new introductions, how many brands have managed to cross a turnover of 5 crore. Over here, the percentage is very less. The number of brands which manage to cross a turnover of greater than or equal to 5 crore is very, very small. Now, why is this happening? It's, while everybody looks at the opportunity and tries to jump in the market, brand building exercise is a very difficult exercise, especially if you look at the competitive scenario that exists in the market. And not many brands are able to leverage the market opportunity better. So while the objective of this analysis that we looked at is how difficult it is for brand building and how important it is to have the right strategies in place to make your brand big, because whatever said and done, the marketing budget that goes in building brands, the percentage, if I've taken an annual target of 10 crore, I would be spending at least 1 to 2 crore as a promo budget for that brand. And I'm sure nobody aims for an annual target of 1 crore. Everybody would be having for new launches an annual target of at least 5 to 10 crores. For legacy brands, it is growing and becoming 20 crore, 30 crore and above if you are a smaller brand. So while the investments keep on going, the challenges are definitely there in making the brands bigger. So in this case, it would be very important to look at what are the different avenues for making your brand bigger. Is it the geographic opportunity? If it is the doctor related opportunity, etc. However, we also looked at, that was all about new introductions, but then is the scenario different or some similar across all the big brands? Here we have just taken 3 examples of brands which are existing in the market, legacy brands which were there in the market for quite some time, and how they have performed better than the market and how the market share of these brands has improved over a period of time. I have taken just 3 examples, whereas there are several other examples in the market. So I've taken one example from the cardiac segment, one from the anti-infective segment, and one from the gastro segment. So if I were to look at Rosuva's F, the value of the market or value of the brand has moved from 57 to 134. Units have moved from close to 3,000 to 5,000. So in terms of value and units, actually it has doubled over or almost doubled in the last 5 years. Augmentin as well, from 400 crore, it has gone to almost 800 crore in terms of value. Units have also almost doubled or slightly less than doubled over a period of time. In case of Pantop DSR, over here as well, if you see, the value has actually more than doubled. Units have almost doubled in the last 5 years. Now, when I talk about, wow, these brands have really done well in the last 5 years, we always have a statement to say, but then the COVID opportunity was there, the market opportunity was there. Obviously, they were supposed to make it good. Then I try to compare the performance with the market. So when I'm comparing the performance with the market, it essentially means that has on an average, the market grown at the same rate. Here, I look at the growth of the market, 8%, 13%, 25%, 17%. Versus that, I'm comparing the growth of these brands. So while majority of the brands in this market have grown at this rate, this brand has actually shown a great growth. So if I were to look at the 5-year CAGR of the market, which is 16%, this brand has shown a CAGR of 24%. In case of CAGR at a unit level, it's almost double. If I were to look at even Augmentin, if you look at the CAGR of the market versus the brand CAGR, it is more than, it's almost double in terms of value and more than double in terms of units. Same scenario, I look for Pantop DSR, where the market CAGR or the brand CAGR is more than double of the market CAGR. As a result of this performance, what has happened is, if you look at the market share, the brand has moved from market share, Rosuva's F, the market share in the molecular market has gone from 22 to 29, a 7% improvement, a 5% improvement in terms of value. Over here for Augmentin, from 19 to 24, it's a 5% improvement, 15 to 20, 5% improvement in terms of value. And if I were to look at Pantop DSR, the market share is improved from 9 to 15% and 10. So 6% improvement in terms of value as well as units. So these are a few examples where a brand building or, tapping the market opportunity better, these brands have really shown it very well. Because if I were to talk about 10 to 12% investment going in the existing brands, probably these brands have got much more returns. Of course, market opportunity was there, but then everybody in the market has not grown at the same rate. The next section, we look at the top 40 corporates, how the top 40 corporates have behaved. So if I were to look at the top corporates, while there has been a unit challenge for majority of the corporates, companies like Sun, Abbott, Mankind, Torrent, Lupin, McLeod's, DRL, USV have managed to show a good value growth. In addition to a good value growth, Lupin, DRL and USV have shown a positive unit growth as well. Among the next 10 players or the next 20 players, Laranon, Ajanta, Hetero, Corona and Sustopic have shown a good double-digit value growth. And Ajanta continues to show a double-digit unit growth as well for the month. And Corona has also shown almost 8% unit growth. Coming to the top 40 brands, Augmentin is back to the number one position for the month of July. And brands from Cipla, Furacort, as well as from Volini, from Sun Pharma show a very good and robust double-digit growth for the month. The next segment, where the top 21 to 40 brands, T-Bac and Telma, have shown a robust value as well as unit growth for the month of July. So if I were to talk about the key takeaways, unit growth seems to be a challenge in majority of the key therapeutic areas in the market still. New introductions driven growth seems to be picking up in the last 2 quarters. However, volume driven growth is still a challenge. Brand building exercise faces a lot of competition across key therapeutic segments. However, there are a few examples of legacy brands who continue to perform much better than the market. Majority of the corporates among the top 40 have shown a good value growth for the month of July, and Augmentin moves back to the number one position for the month of July 23. Furacort, Volini, T-Bac, Telma continue to show robust value and unit growth for the month of July. This was something about how the market has performed. We have started a new initiative from June dataset Equed, which is our monthly newsletter, which will give you in-depth market insights. And this is something which should be available to you by midweek this week. Now we move on to our more interesting section, which is the opinions that matter. And the topic for today is customer centricity. Our speaker for the day is Mr. Amit Jain, who is President and Head Domestic Business for Brinton Pharmaceuticals. Over to Mr. Amit Jain.
Good morning everyone, welcome to another episode of Opinions That Matter. Today we are here in the lovely city of Pune in the outdoors of Brinton Pharma. We had this opportunity of enjoying this lush green space at Brinton, courtesy Mr. Amit Jain. So welcome to Opinions That Matter. Thank you for having us here. I know, sir, you have been around in this industry for many years and you've been in a leadership position wherein you could take decisions for the organization for almost 15-20 years now. And this, I believe, has helped a lot of organizations in bringing that common thread for the entire team to work, whether it is the sales, the marketing, the distribution. So there was a common link for all of them to work towards, building up the brands, building up the perception of the organization, bringing up that customer centricity as a core for the organization. Sir, help me understand, how did you make that happen?
So first of all, thank you, Richa, for inviting me to the platform of Opinion That Matters. And probably I feel myself honored to be the part of this program. And I'm sure I'll try to do my best to share my experiences and my thoughts to my industry colleagues so that everybody can be benefited. And welcome to you to Brinton House and enjoying the weather for Pune. So if you talk about today customer centricity, let me tell you, we all are living now into a digital disruptions. And if you see into this world, no more your traditional approaches are working on because of there are reasons that due to digital disruptions and the technological enhancement, now the customer landscape is changing, his behavior and things are changing a lot. And you will find that customer is more self-centric, they are more having an awareness. So it is very, very important that pharma or even any industry cannot no longer continue on the traditional approaches which they had. And it is extremely important that we must focus more onto the customer centricity. So because today, if you see anything which is evolving around, so it is, whether you talk about strategy or you talk about any plans, it has to revolve around the customer itself by putting customer at the center core. Because in order to give you an example, like I remember that when we used to hire the taxis, we used to book earlier, 1 day prior, 2 days prior. But today what is happening is that Uber has really changed. They know that I'm going to get a transportation. So these companies have really enhanced the customer-centric organizations and customer experiences. Same time, if you see Tesla, they're working together that rather than owning a car, now you can have a experience for driving it selflessly. So lots of things are emerging to the emergence of the technology. Things I would say that one is when you talk about customer centricity and to see that what you are investing, you should be able to get the right inputs. But today, let me tell you, rather than becoming an ROI focus, I think the focus should go more on the customer. So as I mentioned in my earlier talk, that today the customer behavior and the landscape is completely changing. So no more your traditional models or your prior information will actually work for you. And it is extremely important that I think we should take an example from different industries, like how Amazon or even the other companies are actually working hard to analyze the daily consumer behavior, and then accordingly they are providing the services and the products to them. So no more longer that your traditional approaches will work. Actually start thinking that with my product and services, how this customer will have a repeat purchase or the repeated buyer can happen from him. See, that every company or every brand you're purchasing, after that there's a survey comes that how you score our services, how you rate our product and all on the scale of 10. So the company has to really work hard that why this customer is facing issue, or probably they're likely to shift to the competitions. So I think the whole focus, same molecule, lots of brands are getting promoted. So how will you create that brand differentiator which the patient should pick up? Today, even when the patient is approaching the doctors, they are actually going with lots of self-awareness things based on the internet informations, and probably doctor is also having a challenges that they have to prescribe the right things for the patients. And there again, it is the companies who actually help the healthcare professionals also to achieve that customer satisfaction, so that the customer life cycle can be achieved for a long-term perspective. Another important feedback I would like to highlight, the last part I would say that consistent feedback and continuous improvements towards that will play a larger role. So overall perspective should be for a long-term perspective, your long-term engagement, rather than going for a short-term ROIs. And that will help you to create a balance between the ROI and customer-centric into the digital world.
As you mentioned, Brinton has had this customer centricity as its core value proposition for their customers in the market. Has this helped the company gain 100 crore and be one of the fastest growing pharma companies in the industry today? Is this one of the reasons why we are seeing this growth for the company?
So Brinton Pharma definitely has focused on customer centricity, and I could say that when we were approaching to the first customer, so we know that how we have to really build customer to customer, and probably every time we had kept the customer centricity at the core itself. So there were two things in mind. One is that how we can have the customer loyalty for our products, and same time how can we create a brand differentiator compared to our competitive, and that has actually given us a competitive edge. And we had actually focused on the customer feedbacks and the experiences which they are having with our brands, and which has probably helped Brinton Pharma to continuously improve our products based on the requirement of the customers and the feedbacks which we are getting from the healthcare professionals or the consumers who was purchasing our products. And when it comes to dermatology and cosmetology, there's lots of products are available which even getting directly purchased by the consumers or the repeated purchases are happening. But we keep valuing the feedbacks what is coming up onto the different platforms, and probably that actually helped the Brinton Pharma to take that customer centricity approach. So for us, each customer has a larger value, and we always believe that we must continue to have them the life cycle value, and that has also further helped Brinton Pharma to increase our customer base. And that is particular reason Brinton Pharma has been recognized well. Today, if I say, we are number one in terms of the sunscreen category, and we are into top 10 brands into many different molecules too.
How has Brinton evolved as a customer-centric organization point of view? But then, if you could tell us, how did the company evolve, keeping this aspect as its core?
So much before me, I would say, Brinton Pharma, because of our chairman, I think he is quite visionary, and he has always committed to build this organization as a best customer-centric organizations. And for that, he has taken lots of approaches. Like whatever infrastructure he has built up, is actually built up completely focused on how we can achieve the customer centricity. So we had a department which is sales and marketing teams completely focused on customers. Secondly, all our strategies and plannings are focused on customers. Third, we had complete structures, like we had a customer experience teams, we had a customer relationship management teams, which are constantly working to take the feedback from the customers, to achieve the life cycle value. And probably this has actually helped Brinton Pharma to emerge as one of the fastest growing organization into IPM. Though we have started very recently, around 10 years back, but we were the first company to achieve 100 crore turnover in a very short span of time. And Brinton Pharma is really committed to become a Brinton Global, and we are all working towards bringing this organization to newer heights. There are lots of things Brinton Pharma has already taken up. First is whether I talk about the rewards and recognition, so it is more of a customer focused. Secondly, we had empowered our people, and we had given them a good training, especially that how you can do the profiling of the customers, how you can identify the needs and wants of the customers, and what are the different likings and hobbies of the customers. And that has actually helped our people to reach very closer to the customers. And the moment you are able to build a strong relationship with your customers, it always helps you that you start getting the prescribers and the business from those customers. Plus our learning and development team, and even our cross-functional teams like HR, or even I talk about purchase, or even I talk about other cross-functional teams, whether it's creatives. We are focusing on that how we can have the best content. We are focusing on that how we can provide the right informations, and then we are constantly working on improving ourselves based on whatever the feedbacks are coming up, whether it's a quality, whether it's any requirements. So we work more of personalization and customizations, and that has actually helped this organization to achieve a faster pace. And my joining, I would say that we are actually trying to build this organization further so that we can actually survive ourselves into the digital disruptions world. And the whole objective is that how we can enter fast into the new therapies, how we can be into preventive health, how we can acquire a space into women health, nutraceuticals, even cardio-diabeto, rheumatology, pain and joint. And the company has a good plans to do a good amount of work even in the digital space too. We have recently acquired Crack as a cream. That's marketing rights has come to us, and then we are working further to even leverage the OTC and the FMCG channels. And we are launching very shortly one of the products into GI care, entering into the laxative market, where we are creating a differentiators. And so we have a big plans. In order to take this company forward, we have opened up a research place into UK, and then we are constantly working to felt our global presence into different countries. And whole objective is that how fast we can achieve the presence into 100 countries. So it's not just domestic. I think the international level also, Brinton Pharma is working very hard to build as a strong organization. And whole thing, if I say, the vision and the mission of the organization is very clear that we have to evolve as one of the fastest growing company which can provide the value to the customers. And same time, all our channels which we're working on, we are actually focusing on that how we can have a right talent and how we can focus more on a quality so that we can provide the better aspects to the customers. So with this approach, I'm sure Brinton Pharma very shortly will see at a global space and into different therapies.
To you are the top 3 do's and don'ts for the brand managers who are going to enter the brand planning season very soon.
So I think everybody knows, but let me give you some tips. Today, if you see when it comes to the planning your strategy, I would only like to mention that put customer at the core of your strategy, and then start thinking that how I can really help to build a strong customer base and focus more on a long-term perspective rather than just selling about your product features. Because today customer is very much demanding, and I think it is important for a product manager or marketer to see that what are the services you can offer around the pill. It's not just the pill, I would say. So it is extremely important that we must continue to focus by putting everything at the center as customer, and then think that what are the needs and wants, and probably that will give a good direction to any product management or the marketer to think ahead compared to their competitors. So that's a differentiator today you can create by achieving the customer delight.
Customer engagement, team engagement, your internal team engagement, and then building a customer-centric organization. How do you marry all these aspects together?
So Richa, it is very important today that you must engage your employees because if a highly engaged employee will lead to a higher customer satisfaction. And in Brinton Pharma, we believe in collaboration and teamwork. We are involving each and our employee to the decisions which we are taking up on a day-to-day basis, and then we are having an open culture where we ensure that every day, whatever the feedbacks are coming up, every company, everybody as stakeholder, the senior leadership has to work onto the feedbacks which are coming up. So it is never the top-down approach we are adopting. We are always adopting that because our employees are the face to the customers, and whatever the feedbacks are coming to them, we give the value to them. And same time, we always believe in empowering them so that they can take the informed decisions. And our learning and development team is also playing a larger role in Brinton Pharma in educating that whatever the profilings you can do for your customers much prior you're meeting them. And I think there's a lots of learnings we have adopted from a different industries also. Like if I talk about e-commerce, they know the customers' experiences and they know the customers very well. So Brinton Pharma has also trying to work on the similar lines, that what kind of the behaviors, what kind of needs, and then we are sharing with our team members that how you can engage the customers, what is the social profiling, what is his personal likings. And today, if I say personalization is very, very important, customization is important. So we are educating our employees that how you can reach or create a personalization and a customization. Secondly, I always believe that when you had a engaged employee, it will work very hard with lots of satisfactions, and he'll go extra miles rather than just doing as a 9-to-5 job. And that is actually keeping us a little different compared to all other organizations. So whole our marketing teams, the top leadership, or even down the line, we actually make sure that our people should understand that why we want to do those things, why it is important for the organizations, how can you really add value, and all these things are actually further help to create.
So 360-degree approach.
Yeah, that is always helping us to have a 360-degree approach, and we are able to take our decisions very, very fast for the continuous development and improvements. And these are the things which is actually into the core. So one of the core values is networking and collaborations only. And we basically focus more on a teamwork approach.
According to you, sir, what can the pharma industry learn from the other industries?
So pharma industry, I think there is a lot which is happening into the other industries, which is actually creating more centric organizations, customer-centric organizations. Because if you see Amazon today, I think they are working more on personalizations and the complete customizations. They're trying to understand the behavior, what the customer needs, and then through AI, they're actually helping the patients to reach out to those products on a faster mode. Secondly, if you see, there's a big data is available today, which is actually helping to know the customer insights. So when pharma is actually planning their strategies and all, I think we need to utilize the data which is available for each of the customers, even the likings of the healthcare professionals or even the patients or the unmet needs. So that will always help you to take right decisions. Third, I would say that the omni-channel marketing, because today it's person-to-person marketing will not help you. So the right use of all the social media channels, the emails, and even for the other digital multi-channel marketing which are being created today, I think the pharma must leverage all the channels while preparing their strategies. And today content is the key. So it is again extremely important that you have to really focus on sharing the right values about your brands to each customer so that he knows, and there's a lots of transparency should be there into your communications. So all your omni-channel marketing strategies or whether it's a content creations, I think there's a lot happened into the e-commerce industries or even the FMCG and OTC segments who are doing a space at the social media level or the TV space. But I think for pharma, personalization and customization is going to be the key to success. And we should continue to work at how I can have a better insights on the customers. So today, I think that's a learning which pharma can adopt.
I still remember when I used to be a product manager long ago. My boss used to tell me, get your customers KYC, get your customers KYC. Today, yes, it is the most important, but then there are companies who started long ago. There are many companies who started long ago. Do you think they're going to have that advantage of being the early movers, of understanding the customers?
So very right and appropriate question, because today, what is available to you? Until you don't have a KYC of a customer or you don't know what are the likings of the customer, any strategy will you prepare? You cannot predict the outcomes. But once you know that you had a complete KYC of the customer, probably you can actually plan your outcomes also, and you can visualize what is going to be the outcome. Brinton Pharma, I think, very fortunate that we had actually focused right from the inception on having a complete KYC of the customer, and we are consistently evolving. that not just the personal data, I think the social data, and even we are reaching out to the family members also to understand that what are their needs, so that we can have more as a relationship with the customer to achieve the life cycle value. And once you start having a personalized relationship with those customers, that plays a very larger role.
So thank you so much.
Thank you, Richa.
It was a delight talking to you. Have a lovely day ahead, sir. Also, thank you to our audience for joining us. Have a great day.